So for the longest time, I thought it was just me in terms of recognizing the importance of friendship, right? And also recognizing the malpractice of friendship in our society and our culture. But I've been onto something for quite some time. Guys, what's going on? Welcome to the Bird Brain Podcast, where the goal is to rise above it all. Stay elevated, create that infinity, and up your you. I'm your host, Isaiah. And first of all, how are you guys doing out there? How's it going? How's it been? How are you feeling? How are your relationships feeling? Um, yeah, how is that going? One of the things I think I've noticed is universally how, as people, we are not going through these unique anomaly of experiences. A lot of times you realize everybody to some capacity is going through the same thing, right? And we're all to some capacity looking for the same thing, which is, simply connection, community, right? And depending on your priorities or your value system, where you're looking for connection, what kind of connections you're looking for, may differ in certain ways. However, one of the things I've realized is there is a malpractice of the concept of friendship. There is this big contradiction and just a messiness that comes with the idea around friendship. And it, for me, it sticks out like a sore thumb. Um, and there's so many things I've experienced, there's so many things I've just noticed, and I'm just like, okay, you know, and sometimes it feels kind of like I'm on an island, right? Because, you meet so many people who the main thing that comes out of their mouth in terms of what they prioritize is a romantic partnership. Now, the funny thing about that is while they prioritize it, they still desire a certain level of friendship, right? They desire a certain level of friendship that they themselves are not willing to commit to or show up with. So it is this very interesting dynamic. And then society tells you that your friends or the people that you consider friends, um, you are not allowed to expect much from them. You shouldn't expect much from them, right? Once somebody has a romantic partner, that's all that matters, right? Everything else comes second. Um, and friendship technically just comes last until they need a friend from you. It's a very one-sided thing that I hear, and that also happens. Okay, that also happens. I'm reading this book right now called The Other Significant Others, and is reimagining life with friendship at the center. And essentially, it's about how historically there have been evidence or has been evidence of how crucial and fundamental friendship actually is, and how there are some people out in the world who don't really put their friendship at the outskirts when other things come into play. It's like, no, my friendships are still very important to me, and they're going to be that way. So when they have romantic partnerships come into their lives, they let them know, hey, my friends, they're still very significant to me. These are my riders, right? And their family members, like it's a basically a documentation of different people. It's a nonfiction about different people who have chosen friendship as essentially, to some degree, their life partners, right? Life partners in such a way of, these are the people that I am I want to do life with, right? I want to share my life with, not in a sexual way, not in a romantic way, but just simply, this is somebody I truly value and care about. And I think it's such an interesting read because, for the longest time, I thought I was crazy. I was like, why is it so hard to just recognize the importance of friendship, right? Why does it seem like most people I come across or most people I talk to don't have that priority set? But when you listen to them, it's like, well, you listen to how they talk about friendship sometimes, and it seems very superficial or very transactional, right? Is the best word for it. However, there's still a demand or an expectation or an entitlement they seem to have when it comes to friends. Like, my friend should be there for me. And on the flip side, they're not typically present. And, at some point in time, you just stop arguing with people and trying to convince them of what it is. Because the goal is to not convince a person to be something different. The goal is to be convinced by what somebody is showing you about them, what they are saying to you, okay, how they are treating you, and understanding, okay, this is the dynamic, this is where their value system is. And the reason why I love this book is because it does set this reminder that, hey, friendship is vital to your life. And just because other things may exist, it doesn't mean that friendship no longer exists. Your buddies are not a buffer until you find something quote unquote better. Okay. And it's funny because in this book, there are friendships where they raise a child together, literally. They make business choices together, like professional life choices. Hey, this is what I'm doing. I'm moving here. The other person's like, all right, cool, dude. I'm gonna move here. And it's not out of this codependency thing. It's in a lot of ways, it seems like very healthy relationship dynamics, very interdependent dynamics, which I think is amazing. And it puts people on pause, I think, a lot of times when you do value friendship, because a lot of times, people are not the friends that they seek. People don't work to be the friends that they seek. People do not aspire to simply be the friend that they are seeking. But one of the things I do notice again is that everybody is looking for good friends. And for the longest time for myself, I recognized there was a pattern of feeling kind of this imbalance and not necessarily knowing how to explain it, right? This imbalance in my relationship dynamics where it was, I was showing up, but I had to wait to see if somebody would reciprocate. And that's just how it is, right? That was the energy I was receiving. Like, yeah, well, they got this other thing, or they have these other people in their lives. You should just understand. And it's like, okay, what does that mean? And simply what it meant is that you should be on standby until they're ready to deal with you. And that never set right in my body, even if I tried. Even if I tried to have that dynamic, it just didn't feel right, because what I started to notice is that, oh no, I'm being taken advantage of. This is not a reciprocal relationship. This is a relationship where someone is receiving more than what they're willing to show up with. Okay? And then you get the throwing back in your face in a lot of ways. Either they demand that you expect too much, or, well, that's not what I know, that's not what I grew up around, etc. And it was always some kind of pushback. And for me, knowing my life, right, and how I've navigated a lot of things that I know now, I've just learned. I was curious, I was convicted, I was consistent, and I was also considerate. So by design, who I am is a byproduct of me working to be that. It wasn't just this, I woke up like this, or I had models of that. I will say that, my mom, she taught us in a lot of ways a lot about loyalty. She taught us in a lot of ways um, about not using people, right? She taught us in a lot of ways to be very self sufficient. And I think that's why I have this stance when it comes to friendship, because my friendships for me are not, they're not results of people that benefit me, right? They're not results of people that are distractions from myself. Okay. They're not results of people that I just have around because I've known for so long. My friendships really do reflect my value system in a lot of ways. And throughout life, yes, I've had relationships where I tried to fight to not just keep a friendship, but I think make people the kind of friend that I desired versus just seeing what kind of friend they were disciplined or willing or determined to be in my life. And as I've gotten older, there's been less, not as I've gotten older, as I've grown. Let's use that. As I've grown as an individual, there's been less desire to keep people around who don't want to be there. Now, yes, I will try, right? I will communicate. I will care. I will do what I need to do to just function as a good friend. Because for me, what I realize is like at the end of the day, when things go to hell, usually it's your friends that you look forward to. If you don't have a strong family system, your friends, right? If your relationships are sour, you go to your friends. If your job isn't doing well, you go to your friends, right? Friendship is kind of in everything. However, it's the last thing on our list to respect, right? And I've always been cognizant of that. And I've realized for myself, there are a lot of relationships I did have where it seemed that they benefited from me more than I just kind of received from this relationship. And I didn't always realize it at first because, sometimes we think, oh, yeah, I am a vital part of this person's life because they trust me enough to share their information. However, how often do they ask about you? Okay. How often do they ask about you? How often do they contribute to your well being? How often do they hold themselves accountable when it comes to you? When do they show up? Okay. All of those things need to be considered because sometimes we are blinded by this idea that we want to be friends with people or we want people to be in our lives, that we overlook how much of an effort this person is making to be a friend, to be in our lives, to participate, to even consider us. And sometimes, yes, it may change. Okay. Sometimes people you were close with, it may change when it stops being convenient. Okay. And then you notice something too, and you have to adjust. But also, I think it's so important to have accountability and self awareness, right? Why am I trying to have this connection? What's the goal here? And you can say, yeah, um, I want to build friendships. That matters to me. That really matters to me. But be honest about how you're going about it too. Because sometimes, we are saying, yeah, I'm the one that's always going out of my way for this, and that. And it's like, okay, why do you continue to do it? Oh, because I'm such a good friend. But you're not being a good friend to yourself. And if somebody is showing you that they're not willing to be a friend in return, or they're telling you, that's information. You don't have to continue to be a friend to somebody who's not returning it. That's the thing about friendship is like, because society holds it at such a low priority, that's even more of a reason and opportunity for you to have more autonomy and be very picky and selective about who you choose as friends in life, right? Because they are significant others. They really are. They significantly impact how you function moving forward. Okay. It's the family that you choose, first of all. And typically, friendships happen before you even have a romantic partnership, which means that how you take care of those relationships will reflect back in your romantic partnership. Okay. And I think a lot of times people, they have this projection that your romantic partner is your everything. Now they're supposed to be your best friend, your confidant, and everything like that. But what we fail to realize is you're putting a lot of pressure on one person, and people can't be everything to you. Okay? They just can't, and they're not supposed to be.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon. Sometimes the most painful part of getting sick is the getting better part. Waiting on hold for an appointment, sitting in crowded waiting rooms, standing in line at the pharmacy, that's painful. Amazon One Medical and Amazon Pharmacy remove those painful parts of getting better with things like 24/7 virtual visits and prescriptions delivered to your door. Thanks to Amazon Pharmacy and Amazon One Medical, healthcare just got less painful.
However, that's a societal thing once again. It's super important to just acknowledge and recognize dynamics so you are not being taken advantage of. But also so you are taking care of other people properly. You know, and sometimes we may feel, right, on a level that we are in a relationship dynamic where, and I say relationship and I mean friendship. We're in a relationship dynamic where it's one-sided, right? And you may address that and it becomes this bigger thing where somebody is telling you that they don't have occupancy in their lives for you or for you to the magnitude that you deserve or seeking. And it could be simple effort and reciprocation. And they're saying to you, hey, I don't have room for that. And you're saying, all right, cool, I'm going to take a step away then. Or I'm going to rearrange this relationship altogether. And then they get mad, you know. And the reason why I think I noticed that the most is because it's a level of selfishness and entitlement that people have. I want what I am not wanting to be, which means a good friend, you know. And sometimes you may get pushback from people because they are offended, or they do recognize to some capacity that, hey, I'm not showing up the way I'm supposed to, but it becomes your doing, right? You're the reason why, right? You're being too difficult. You're being all these things. You're asking for too much. Your expectations are too high. I like low maintenance friends. And it's like, you don't like low maintenance doesn't mean low effort. Okay. And when we really think about what low maintenance is, it's just a relationship that you don't have to really nurture or take care of. And that's the thing about friendship. People think that, hey, because we've known each other for so long, or because we had this conversation at one point, we don't need to revisit our relationship. Now it could lie dormant until we decide to deal with it again. And that's not how it works. Okay. The same principles apply because your friendships are people. Okay. They're people that you're doing life with. They are people who have lives just like you do. And sometimes I think we try to make it seem as if we are more important than other people, right? When we will use our significant other, we will use our work, we will use our kids. And if the other person doesn't have one or some of those things by design, they are less of a person, like they're half of a human. Okay, because they don't have a romantic partner, they wouldn't get it, or they're not as busy, or they're not as occupied. And it's not true, because not every romantic partnership is a healthy one. Okay, this is just a distraction and dysfunction from actually taking care of yourself, right? And not everybody's with their child 24/7. Okay, a lot of people who use that and project it, they don't really model what they're mouthing. Okay. Now, me, for example, I have friends that have kids and our relationship works just fine because it's just simply, hey, what do you care about? And I care about their kids too. So I'm involved in that aspect of their lives as well. Okay. People who care about you are going to look for ways to show up. And if they don't really care about the relationship, they're going to look for ways to get out of it. Okay. It's really simple math, but again, I think the fact that society downplays the importance of friendship, it does allow this weird malpractice around friendship. Like friendship is this relationship that's allowed to be kicked around and kind of disrespected or dismissed until it's needed, right? I think a lot of people treat their friends like first responders, or they think of themselves as first responders. Like, hey, I may not talk to you for 6 months, but if you need somebody in the middle of the night, I'm going to get up and I'm going to be there. But how often does it happen, right? Once in a blue moon, somebody is going to go have a tragedy that they actually need to call at 1 a.m. And oftentimes, if a person can't get a hold of you regularly, or you're not in their lives, why would they call you? Why would I share some of the most sensitive or intense moments of my life with a person that's not in it? Right? But we think on the other end, when we're ready for a friend, people should just be on standby, and it doesn't work like that. It does not work like that. But again, historically, it has shown that there are people who have seen their friendships as very important, right? This is the epicenter of my life, and everything else kind of functions around it. And I'm not saying that people have to do that, right? Everybody has their own value system. However, it does bring into focus that friendship is important. Friendship is very important. And I know for my life, it has always been very important. And I've ran the gamut, right? I've ran the gamut. And, I realize even if I may mess up in certain aspects, how willing am I to make things better? How consistent am I about making things better? And there can be codependency in friendships as well. Okay. That's why health of a relationship is more important than the history of it. How long you've known a person does not matter. How have you guys grown in that time? Okay. What aspects of growth are invested in the relationship? How have you guys developed as people? All right. Not just what you can afford. Okay. Not what you can buy now. Right. Because we all make money. There's so many ways to make money. There's so many ways to do things. However, how have you grown as a person? And I think I was talking about this last week on the Father's Day podcast, that, most men don't have friendships later in life. They don't have them. They don't know how to be friends in a lot of ways. Okay. Society doesn't teach that. Society doesn't necessarily encourage it. We'll talk about it in a certain way, in a weird roundabout way, your friends. But I don't think people understand the capacity of what friendship actually means, right? We think of these people as kind of just placeholders or people who are in our lives who make us feel good. But how are we taking care of those relationships in return? What does that look like? I've been thinking a lot about it. And I've even had some clients that have said, yeah, I want to be a better friend. I don't know how to make friendships. And I love that. I'm like, yes, hell yeah. Let's talk about it. It's something that I am passionate about because, like I said, when you have good friends in your life, it really does shine a light on a lot of things that may not be going the best. It really does enhance and enrich your life when you have good friends. Okay. One of the things I've noticed for me is the friends in my life now who do make an effort. What they do indirectly, unintentionally, is they make it very clear where I may be settling, right? I may be being mistreated and undervalued, okay, for the sake of a friendship where I'm willing to be a friend, but I'm not on the receptive end of it. You have people who show up and try and remind you that all the things that felt like too much are actually very easy. And then we have a problem because now I have to look at all the spaces where it felt like it was too much. And it's like, okay, so what are we doing here now? Why are we still here? Okay. Does this person even want you here? Good friendship will change some things. And people may not always appreciate or value good friends, but it doesn't mean everybody operates that way. Okay. And it doesn't mean that friendship is any less important. It's actually pretty top tier. And the reason why I say that is because everybody wants a friend. Not everybody's willing to be one. Everybody you meet wants to have friends. And I think that's such a reassuring fact. Okay. It brings to light that, yes, it is it is something that's desired. It is something that is very important. It is just something that is not practiced or valued properly. In some ways, for you to just notice the difference between a healthy relationship and maybe a parasitic relationship, a one-sided relationship, or even a codependent relationship. Um, if you are seeking out friends where you have to feel needed, right? You were trying to love someone into loving you, right? You do all these things to keep people around in the hopes that, hey, if I just teach you, I was listening to this podcast recently. I think it was Life with Flynn, and he was basically breaking it down in terms of like how sometimes he would, love people or make the effort. And I don't want to butcher this, but basically, essentially, if I love this person enough and remind them of how great they are, in turn, they'll love me. Okay. And I've even found myself doing that sometimes. Like, oh, yeah, if I remind this person the good that they are, then by design, they'll be good to me. Okay. And to some degree, that is manipulative, guys. That is manipulative. It's not malicious, but it's trying to change something or someone by outside of their function. Now, while we all need a reminder that we are lovable, that we are caring, etc., and that in turn, if we are receptive to that and we practice on our end and we hold ourselves accountable, that will change our outlook and our process. You have to understand, are you loving somebody to love them, or are you loving somebody for yourself? Okay, what is the reason behind it? All right, and be honest. Okay, ask yourself, do I keep people around because I want to feel needed? Okay, do I always show up for other people because there is a certain level of codependency I may have where it's like I have to be a part of you, etc., or I anything that you go through I have to take care of for you. Okay, people pleasing. There's also something that he said in his podcast where it's like there's certain relationships. He's had very few relationships where he was where the person was looking to be as valuable to him as he was to them. And that hit hard because I think for a lot of times, throughout my life, I held people kind of on this weird pedestal, right? Where I saw the great in them, and sometimes I would even put myself in a lesser space. Right, I would think of them as more significant. I would feel that, oh, they have these things that I don't, so by design they're better than me. And it would put me in certain spaces, to say the least. It would definitely put me in these certain dysfunctional dynamics. Because what I wasn't realizing is that these people were just people. And I was just a person. And we were just doing our people thing. And sometimes what I did realize later was that this person wasn't, it was either a facade or it was a projection. Like I was projecting onto them somebody that they were not. And that created dysfunction in our relationship. But yeah, there have been very few relationships, I think, in my life where there was, I felt, or at least believed that I was valued, or this person was looking to be valuable in my life as much as I was looking to be valuable in theirs. Right? And I think more so because, again, I was raised on loyalty and self-sufficiency at the same time, which means that, man, my love runs deep. However, I'm loving you because I want to love you, not because I need you here. And to get to a healthy space with that, right? Not loving people in the hopes that they love me back, but just simply loving people and realizing, Isaiah, you've been doing your thing on your own for quite some time. You're not really in desperation or need of others, especially people who do not want to be there. What do you get from a relationship that is not reciprocal? And when I say get, sometimes you find that a person will reach out to you when they have something going on, right? They call you to talk to, right? You're their go-to when they have things. They need advice, so you're the first person that they go to. However, on a receptive end, if you have things going on, they don't have the time of day. Or you notice that whenever you do bring something up in your life, they radio silence and they come back around when they're ready. Okay, that's very one sided. And also, to some degree, you're being taken advantage of. Or, this person only hits you up when it comes time to celebrate their wins, but for you, they're not present. Someone who is just not really invested in your life, but it will seem that way because of how frequently they are in your life when it's convenient for them. Sometimes, again, we only see the fact that the person is there, not whether or not they're present or when they're present, like very fair weather to some degree, right? But sometimes we will try to be the friend to other people that we needed, and not everybody's receptive to that. Some people don't want your friendship, and they will make it clear. Sometimes they'll tell you, okay? They'll tell you that they didn't want your friendship. And when someone says that or somebody reminds you of that, that is more of a reason for you to take an exit, right? Exit stage left. Um, yeah, I want you guys to think about what friendship means to you. I want you guys to really acknowledge how you show up in your friendship dynamics. I want you guys to take a look at your friendship patterns, okay? What they actually mean and what they identify as. And, this is something that I've been coaching now more in my sessions because people are coming to me more about their friendships and wanting to be better friends or wanting to work through friendship. There was a podcast with Esther Perel that I listened to when these two guys went to therapy for friendship. And it was cool because a lot of their friendship dissolved because of the things that they didn't talk about through the years. And when they finally sat down to talk to each other, you realize there was a lot there that both people were feeling hurt. Both people didn't necessarily feel valued. And they wanted to, have each other in their lives. And I thought it was a beautiful thing, right? Because you don't get the same person twice, okay? And I don't think the best of friends are basically defined by proximity. Majority of my very close relationships are all long distance, and that's not the ideal for me. However, it I make it work, right? I make it work because these people to me are worth it. And throughout time, friendship dynamics have changed, right? Because value systems are different, or we've literally grown and you understand what was holding the friendship together. And now the friendship may be dissipating, or somebody may get very honest that, it's not a friendship that they really consider that important. And then you change. And I think that's even beautiful too, because it reminds us that we are growing, right? We are not stagnant. Okay, we are moving pieces. And to have friends through life, healthy friends through life, is truly something that is just dope and phenomenal because not many people do it. Okay, so I want you guys to just think about this. I hope this was informative. I hope this was helpful. I hope this was reassuring. If you are the type of person who does value your friendships, that's dope. That's dope. Just recognize what you value and why, and recognize who values you in return. Okay, it will not be complicated. Yes, we all have hard life moments. However, there are some people who have been through hell and back, and they are still willing to show up. Okay, why? Because it matters. And then there are some people who just don't want to show up, but those aren't your friends. And if they were at one point in time, they don't have to be still, especially if they no longer want to be. All right, so take care of yourselves, take care of each other. Okay, take care of your friendships and take flight.